Most guys today could not survive a single day in the Middle Ages. The world has become soft. Back in the 7th century, men lived hard. They hacked trees for wood, pulled broken plows behind stubborn oxen, and swung hammers all day. If you think your gym workout makes you strong, you've got another thing coming. This is the reality. Most guys are soft, weak noodles. You play video games, sip lattes, and complain about the weather. Your forearms aren't strong enough to hold an axe, and you probably don't know how to butcher an animal. So let me ask you a question. Do you really think you could make it in the past? Or will you fold faster than a cheap suit? How would you cope with a world without refrigerators, cars, or easy access to food? Could you handle the isolation of rural life? What about danger? Do you think you could fight off wolves, bandits, or bears? If you're a true badass, then I challenge you to sign up for a homesteading program. Find some land, plant crops, raise livestock, build a house, and see if you can make it 6 months without calling for backup. Make no mistake, I am not trying to be mean. I'm telling the truth. Listen to history, learn from your ancestors, and prepare for the future. A couple of weeks ago, I read a survey of 2,000 people, and almost half said they would rather live in the past than now. Come on, get real. They probably watched Game of Thrones and Vikings too many times. There's nothing romantic about the past. All that sounds nice until you need a doctor, a lawyer, or some other professional to fix your problems. But how did our ancestors manage before cell phones and quick transportation? Let's find out. In the year 800 AD, Charlemagne's empire stretches far beyond modern France. In the Holy Roman Empire, a young boy named Wolfram awakens in a small village. He remembers little of his parents except their gentle touch and loving smiles. His father was a blacksmith, crafting tools and weapons, while his mom tilled the fields. Now he lives with his uncle, a stern, weathered man with hands like gnarled roots. Today marks Wolfram's 14th birthday. Time for him to join the men working the fields. Though his heart sinks at the thought, Wolfram knows education isn't free. Labor is his tuition, his ticket to becoming a master farmer. As the sun rises, he joins his uncle and cousins. Wolfram struggles to keep up. The hours crawl by. By noon, his back aches and his hands blister. Still, he cannot stop. Quitting isn't an option. Wolfram learns the rhythms of the seasons, the feel of fertile soil, the language of plants. He tends animals, gathers firewood, repairs fences. Each task chips away at his city ways, revealing a resilient young farmer. 2 years pass. The city feels distant, a half-remembered dream. Wolfram finds satisfaction in a hard day's honest work. He respects his uncle's guidance and the silent strength of the land. A deep sense of belonging replaces his former discontent. But change hasn't been easy. Farming is harsh. Storms can ruin crops, animals can die, and hunger lingers even in full seasons. Wolfram misses his parents more than ever, yet he carries on. He tends his own small plot, experiments with new seeds, fixes irrigation ditches. Slowly, he becomes a master farmer, feeding himself and his family. Years turn into decades. Gray hairs dot Wolfram's head, but his eyes remain bright. He watches his sons and nephews till the fields, sharing stories of their father's prowess. Farming isn't glorious, but it is honest, rewarding, and free. For Wolfram, there's no place he'd rather be. Now imagine for a moment that Wolfram is you. Are you willing to learn these life skills, or would you prefer to stay in your comfort zone? Remember, survival isn't about living in a big house, driving a fancy car, or having lots of money. It's about adapting to any situation and making the best of what you have. To truly thrive, you must first learn to survive. And the good news is that survival skills are like muscles. They grow stronger with use. You don't need to be a soldier or a spy to appreciate their value. Anyone can benefit from honing their survival instincts. And that's why it's crucial to step outside your comfort zone and push yourself to learn and grow. So embrace challenges and discover what you're truly capable of. Who knows, you might just surprise yourself. Don't forget to share your experiences and insights in the comments below. Let's learn together and become better survivors. And if you like this story, I recommend you watch another video. When I first arrived in the medieval village, I was determined to survive. I studied books on medieval life, watched documentaries, even attempted to learn Latin. I thought I was prepared. Boy, was I wrong. Here's one thing I think no one tells you about medieval times. Medieval people didn't think like me. Sure, I can put on a tunic and a hood and try to look the part, but my brain is wired very differently. My instincts are shaped by 21st century life. I grew up with a social safety net, education, and an economy based on abundance. This is very different from medieval life. People back then lived in constant fear of famine, disease, and war. Life was tough, and that toughness has rubbed off on them. After centuries of living like that, you can imagine how hardy medieval people must have become. Now compare that to me, who grew up in a world of relative luxury and security. I may think I'm strong, but my survival instincts aren't built for enduring hunger or leading others in hard times. So, when I stepped into that medieval village, I was not just stepping into a different time. I was entering a completely different mindset. It was like trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. In my world, we rely on experts. We trust doctors, engineers, teachers, people we see as smarter than us. In the Middle Ages, that was not the case. Back then, people were expected to be self-sufficient. They needed to grow their own food, mend their own clothes, and treat their own illnesses. For example, if I had injured myself back then, I wouldn't be able to go to a hospital. The nearest one is miles away. The most I can hope for is the village healer. And if I got sick with something complex like pneumonia or tuberculosis, there wasn't much they could do for me. No antibiotics, no advanced equipment. I'd either have to endure it or die. And if I lived, I might be left with permanent damage. That's why people in medieval times tended to be practical and resourceful, not dependent on others. They relied on themselves. This was made clear to me one afternoon when I tried to help a farmer repair his fence. I've never done carpentry work before, but I figured how hard can it be? Turns out pretty hard. I ended up making more mistakes than repairs. The farmer just sighed and fixed my mistakes. I felt humiliated, and I realized something. My knowledge was not useful here, and my willingness to learn was not enough. I was a complete outsider. In fact, I was a liability. If I had stayed in my own time, I might have enjoyed the luxury of not thinking about stuff like growing food or mending fences. But here I had to learn these things, and fast. I am far from the only person who has had to learn these skills. Some people choose to learn them voluntarily, while others are thrown into situations where they must adapt. The difference is in the approach. Many people who choose to learn traditional skills do so because they want to connect with their roots, to understand history more deeply. Others do it because they simply admire the craftsmanship involved in traditional trades. On the other hand, those who suddenly find themselves in medieval times, like me, don't have the choice of learning these skills. They need them to survive. It's not enough to be interested in medieval life or to admire its traditions. I have to fully immerse myself in it. That means learning how to make tools, grow food, and defend myself. This is not just about reading books or watching videos. It's about practicing, failing, adapting, and learning from those failures. It's the same process medieval people went through. And that's the challenge. I'm here for the experience, not to prove myself. And this brings me to another crucial aspect of medieval life that no one talks about, the lack of accountability. Our modern world is built on accountability. Businesses are accountable to shareholders, governments to their citizens, individuals to society. But in the Middle Ages, things were quite different. People were mostly accountable to themselves and God. The concept of accountability to others was almost non-existent. The closest thing to accountability was the responsibility owed to the Lord by the peasants who lived on his land. Peasants had to pay rent and provide labor services to their lords, but this was not seen as accountability in the modern sense. It was just the way things were. If a peasant failed to meet his obligations to the Lord, he would be punished. But there was little in the way of due process or appeals. The Lord's word was law. This lack of accountability permeated all aspects of medieval life. Artisans were not accountable to consumer protection laws. Merchants were not accountable to financial regulators. Even monarchs were not really accountable to their subjects. Kings could do pretty much whatever they wanted, and there was little anyone could do about it. This lack of accountability may seem shocking to us now, but it was the norm back then. And I have to deal with it too. If I break a tool or make a bad deal, there's no one to complain to. I cannot expect a refund or a recall. I have to deal with the consequences of my actions myself. This is not just a theoretical lesson. I've had to apply it many times. When I bought a faulty tool or made a bad trade, I couldn't get my money back. I had to use my knowledge and skills to fix the problem. It's a tough lesson to learn, but I'm learning it fast. I'm discovering that in medieval times, you can't just rely on the system. You have to be self-reliant. And that's not just about fixing broken tools or making bad deals. It's about every aspect of life. For example, if I get sick, I can't just go to a hospital. I have to rely on the village healer. If I have a legal issue, I can't go to court. I have to figure it out myself or rely on local custom. This is not always easy or convenient, but it's necessary. In order to survive here, I have to be self-accountable. Accountability is a cornerstone of our modern society. We hold businesses, governments, and individuals accountable for their actions. But in the Middle Ages, accountability was a very different matter. In a time when the concept of accountability to others was virtually non-existent, relying on oneself became not just an option, but a necessity. My survival depended on it. Now let me add something. All the skills I have to learn here are not mine alone. There are many women and men in my situation, especially today. They have chosen to live simpler, more self-sufficient lives. These people have a lot to teach me. The real challenge is not learning the skills. It's unlearning the habits of a lifetime. Unlearning habits is harder than learning new ones. The biggest hurdle is mental. It's letting go of the expectations and comforts of the modern world. It's facing the harsh realities of medieval life without the safety net of modern conveniences. And it's doing all this willingly. It's not just about putting on a tunic and pretending to be in the Middle Ages. It's about truly immersing myself in a different way of life. It's about understanding and accepting the challenges and responsibilities that come with it. It's about embracing the spirit of self-reliance that medieval life demands. Can I do that? I honestly don't know. But if I want to survive in this world, I have to try.